Have you ever wondered if one small act of kindness could change your entire life? Imagine being all alone in a world that seems to have forgotten you, and then, by caring for a helpless puppy, you find a miracle you never dreamed possible. This is the story of Ao, a beautiful young woman whose heart was bigger than her troubles, and how her simple compassion for an injured puppy would lead her straight into the arms of love, hope, and a new beginning. If you think miracles are only stories, stay tuned to see what happened next in the story. Ao was born in a small but vibrant town nestled among the rolling emerald hills of Nigeria. Her father, Mr. Adewale, was a warm-hearted merchant known for his laughter that filled the air like sweet music, and her mother, Mama Nene, was as beautiful as the morning sun. Their home was always alive with the scent of jollof rice, the laughter of neighbors dropping by, and the rhythmic drumming of village celebrations. Ao, a 20-year-old charming girl, was their only child, a precious blossom in their garden of life. Her skin glowed like polished mahogany, her eyes sparkled with curiosity, and her smile could melt the hardest of hearts. She was the pride of her parents and the hope of her family. But fate, as it often does, changed everything in the blink of an eye. One fateful rainy afternoon, the heavens seemed to mourn with Ao's family. Thunder rumbled through the sky, and powerful winds whipped the leafy mango trees surrounding their home. As the storm raged, news arrived that would break Ao's world forever. Her beloved father, Mr. Adewale, had been caught in a terrible road accident on his way back from the market. The cheerful chatter and joyous laughter that once filled their home vanished in an instant, replaced by a heavy, suffocating silence. Ao, trembling with shock and disbelief, clung to her mother, searching for warmth and comfort in her embrace. But the grief that gripped Mama Nene twisted her heart in cruel ways. Her once gentle hands became rigid, her eyes losing their familiar sparkle, turning cold and distant. Each day, Mama Nene seemed to slip further away, her words growing sharp and bitter, each one cutting Ao like a blade. The house, once a haven of love, now echoed with angry voices and slammed doors. Mama Nene, lost in her pain and suspicion, began to see Ao not as her cherished child, but as someone standing in the way of her claim to Mr. Adewale's wealth. Ao, heartbroken, watched the warmth of her family crumble before her eyes. Nights became endless, filled with tears and whispered prayers. The girl who had once danced to the rhythm of her father's laughter now faced only the cold shadow of loss and betrayal, unsure if the sun would ever shine again in her world. One morning, as the first rays of the sun touched the red earth, Ao's life changed forever. The gentle glow of dawn, which once promised hope, now seemed only to witness her pain. "Ao, you must leave," her mother declared, her voice as cold as the harmattan wind that swept through their village. "This house, this wealth, none of it is yours. Go and make your own way. You are no longer my daughter." Ao stood frozen, her heart pounding, unable to believe the words she was hearing. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she saw only steel in her mother's face. In that moment, the warmth and love that once filled their home vanished, replaced by a deep, chilling emptiness. With trembling hands, she gathered a few clothes and her father's old photograph, her only remaining treasure, and stepped out of the house that had sheltered her since birth. But the cruelty did not begin that morning. Ever since her father's death, her mother had changed in ways Ao could hardly recognize. Mama Nene, once a pillar of grace, now spent her days indulging in her late husband's wealth. She formed a close friendship with a wicked man from the neighborhood, a man whose presence in the house brought only dread and discomfort. He visited daily, and together, they would force Ao to do all the housework, while openly behaving in ways that filled the home with shame and unease. The more Ao recoiled from this man's visits, the more her mother seemed to delight in his company, often laughing loudly and ignoring her daughter's pain. The wicked man's eyes followed Ao everywhere, making her feel exposed and unsafe in her own home. When her mother noticed Ao's discomfort, it only hardened her heart further. Finally, unable to bear the sight of her daughter's unhappiness, Mama Nene and her sinister friend conspired together. Their whispers became orders and their cruelty became unbearable. With cold determination, they forced Ao out, casting her away without a second thought. As Ao wandered the dusty streets, her dreams shattered and her heart aching with betrayal, the sky seemed to mourn with her. Rain began to fall, each drop a silent witness to the world she had lost. A world of love, family, and belonging. Now she walked alone, carrying only her grief and the fading memory of happier times. Days passed and hunger gnawed at Ao's belly. She searched for work, but doors slammed in her face. At last, a small pizza shop at the edge of town offered her a job as a delivery girl. It was not what she had dreamed, but it was a lifeline. Every day, Ao pedaled her battered bicycle across town, delivering hot pizzas to people who barely noticed her. Some gave her a smile, most did not. She worked late into the night, her hands numb from the cold, her heart heavy with loneliness. Her home was now a tiny, crumbling room in an old house on the outskirts of town. The walls were thin, the window broken, and the wind howled through the cracks. But it was shelter, and for that Ao was grateful. She counted every naira, saving what little she could for rent and food. Some nights, she went to bed hungry, clutching her father's photograph to her chest, whispering prayers to the stars. One night, as the full moon hid behind thick clouds and the rain fell in torrents, Ao finished her last delivery. The streets were empty, the lamps flickering in the storm. As she hurried home, shivering in her thin jacket, a faint whimper caught her ear. She stopped, heart pounding. There, huddled beneath a bush, was a small, white puppy. Its fur was soaked, its body shivering, and its tiny leg twisted at an odd angle. Ao's heart broke at the sight. She knelt beside the puppy, her hands gentle as she stroked its cold fur. The puppy whimpered, but did not pull away. "Oh, little one," she whispered, "you are alone just like me?" Without a second thought, Ao scooped the puppy into her arms and cradled him against her chest. She hurried home, shielding him from the rain with her jacket. Back in her tiny room, Ao wrapped the puppy in her only dry blanket. She lit a candle and gently cleaned the wound on his leg, using warm water and a torn piece of cloth. She fed him a little bread and water, her own meal that night. The puppy gazed at her with large, trusting eyes, his tail thumping weakly against the floor. She named him Milo, after a story her father once told her about a brave dog who saved his village. Days passed, and Ao cared for Milo with all the love in her heart. She took him to a kind old vet in the village, using the last of her rent money to pay for his treatment. She watched anxiously as his wound healed, her heart swelling with hope each time he wagged his tail. Milo became her shadow, following her everywhere with his playful bark and joyful leaps. He waited by the door when she went to work and snuggled beside her at night, keeping the darkness at bay. But joy, it seemed, was never meant to last for Ao. One evening, as she counted her coins in the dim candlelight, her landlord knocked at the door. "Ao, you have not paid your rent this month," he said, his voice stern. "You must leave by the end of the week." Ao begged for time, tears streaming down her face. "Please, sir, give me just a few more days. I will pay you, I promise." The landlord, seeing the desperation in her eyes, agreed to wait a little longer. But the weight of her troubles pressed heavily upon her heart. From that day, she took Milo with her on every delivery, afraid to leave him alone. Together, they braved the busy streets, facing the world as a team. One Friday evening, the pizza shop owner handed her a delivery for a grand mansion in the richest part of town. "Be careful, Ao," he warned. "This is a very important customer." Ao cycled through tree-lined avenues, her heart pounding with nerves. She had never seen houses so big, their walls gleaming white, their gardens bursting with flowers. She rang the bell, her hands trembling. The door swung open, and there stood a tall, handsome man. His skin was dark as ebony, his eyes deep and searching. He looked to be about 30, his presence commanding yet gentle. Ao held out the pizza, but the man's gaze shifted to Milo, who peeked out from behind her legs. Suddenly, the man cried out, his voice trembling with emotion, "Milo, is it really you?" At the sound of his name, the puppy leapt from Ao's arms, barking joyfully. The man fell to his knees, gathering Milo into his embrace, tears streaming down his cheeks. "You found him," he whispered, his voice breaking with happiness. "My lost Milo." Ao watched in amazement as Milo licked the man's face, his tail wagging furiously. She felt both joy and sadness, happy for Milo but heartbroken to lose her only friend. The man invited Ao inside, his gratitude shining in his eyes. Over steaming cups of tea, she told him the story of how she had found Milo in the rain, how she had cared for him despite her own struggles. The man, whose name was Al-Yamid, listened intently. He explained that Milo had been a gift from his late father and had gone missing weeks ago. He had searched everywhere, fearing he would never see his beloved companion again. "Thank you, Ao," Olyamide said, his voice thick with emotion. "You have given me back my family." He insisted on taking her address, promising to visit her soon. When the time came to say goodbye, Ao knelt beside Milo, hugging him tightly. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered, "Be happy, my little friend. I will always love you." Milo licked her cheek as if to say thank you before bounding back to Olyamide's side. Days passed and Ao struggled more than ever. The landlord's patience had run out. One cold Saturday morning, he pushed her out of the room, her few belongings piled in a sack at her feet. Ao sat by the roadside, her heart shattered, her future uncertain. She looked at the old photograph of her father, whispering, "Papa, what do I do now?" As the sun dipped below the horizon, a sleek car pulled up beside her. Out stepped Olyamide, his face filled with concern. He approached a neighbor asking about Ao. The neighbor explained, the landlord evicted her. She had no money for rent. Olyamide's heart ached at the sight of Ao, tears streaming down her face, her life packed into a single bag. Without hesitation he paid the landlord the overdue rent, then knelt beside Ao. "Come with me," he said softly. "You are not alone anymore." Olyamide brought Ao to his grand home, a mansion filled with light and laughter. There she met his mother, Mama Adunni, a wise, gentle woman with silver hair and kind eyes. Mama Adunni welcomed Ao with open arms, sensing the goodness in her heart. Ao began to help around the house, cooking delicious meals, tending the gardens, and caring for Mama Adunni. Her gentle nature and loving spirit shone in everything she did. Olyamide watched her with admiration, his heart drawn to her kindness. He saw how she treated everyone, servants, guests, even the birds in the garden, with respect and compassion. Days turned to weeks, and Ao found herself growing fond of Olyamide and his family. She laughed with Mama Adunni, played with Milo in the gardens, and shared stories by the fire. Olyamide was captivated by Ao's courage and humility. He remembered how she had cared for Milo, sacrificing her own comfort for a helpless animal. If she can love a lost puppy so deeply, he thought, she has enough love to fill this home with joy. One evening, as the stars shone bright above the mango trees, Olyamide approached Ao in the garden. "Ao," he said softly, "you have brought light into my life. I want to spend the rest of my days with you. Will you marry me?" Tears sparkled in Ao's eyes as she nodded, her heart overflowing with happiness. The village was alive with excitement on the day of their wedding. Drummers played joyful rhythms, dancers spun in bright clothes, and the scent of spicy stews filled the air. Ao wore a beautiful gown of shimmering fabric, her hair braided with colorful beads. Olyamide stood tall and proud, his eyes shining with love. As they exchanged vows beneath the ancient baobab tree, Milo barked joyfully, his tail wagging with delight. The whole village celebrated, for everyone knew the story of the orphan girl who had lost everything but found love and family through a single act of kindness. Ao's life became a testament to hope and compassion. She and Olyamide opened their home to children and animals in need, sharing their blessings with all who crossed their path. People came from far and wide to witness the miracle that kindness had brought about. A broken girl who became a queen, simply because she cared for a helpless puppy on a stormy night. In the heart of Africa, where the sun rises golden over the hills and the drums echo with ancient wisdom, the people say, "Kindness, like a seed, grows into the tallest tree. When you help those who cannot repay you, the universe finds a way to bless you in return." Ao's story teaches us that no matter how dark the night, no matter how alone we feel, a simple act of compassion can bring about miracles beyond our wildest dreams. Never stop believing in goodness, for sometimes, the smallest kindness can change the world.